Hi guys, and welcome to this edition of the Your Progress is Our Passion podcast. Today I'm joined with my two coaches, Jack Oliver and Sarah Davies. I'm going to get them to introduce themselves, and I'm going to hope that particularly Jack is a lot less modest than he was when we first started training together, because this guy's got quite a background, well they both have, but Jack keeps his a little bit under wraps, and it wasn't until 3 times training with him that I found out that he currently holds a couple of records. So tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you do.
I'm Sarah. I'm weightlifter for Great Britain. I am also a qualified PE teacher. I'm not teaching this year. I've never actually won a British Championships because I'm in the same category as Zoe, but I have won European Under 23 Championships, which was the first British person to do that ever in 2015. So I got to listen to the national anthem on top of the rostrum, which was pretty cool. I've won 2 English Championships. I've been to World Championships, European Senior Championships, and I competed in the Commonwealth Games in 2014, having only started in September 2011.
Amazing. Jack?
I've been weightlifting a really long time, 12 years I think it is, and I've basically done everything, every competition there is in that time, so everything from the Youth Championships and so on up to 2 Commonwealth Games, 1 Olympic Games. I came 10th at London Olympics, and hopefully next Commonwealth Games I'll get a medal. So that's the aim really at the minute, to get into the next Commonwealth Games, and along the way I think I've got around 20 British records from all the way through the age groups up to the senior ones, but not done just yet. I want to set them a bit higher before I retire next year.
Okay, and collectively you guys run Wisdom for Weightlifting, which is how I know you guys, because I'm one of your students. How long's that been going, and what's the sort of vision with that?
Yeah, so it all started in 2014 after they stopped the funding for the men, and I wasn't really ready to give up weightlifting yet, so I decided I've got to kind of make a career out of something I enjoy doing. So that's when we set up Wisdom for Weightlifting. Originally it was more my business, and then Sarah's kind of come on board more with it, taken over a lot of the women's coaching as well. We run the workshops completely together. It's really cool having Sarah, because I used to do some of it by myself, but having Sarah on the workshops, that's been brilliant, because where she's a qualified teacher, some of the little things and the games that she brings to the workshops make it really good fun. And her ideas I would never think of, because although I've done loads of years of weightlifting, it's just weightlifting. So actually I learned loads from Sarah too. And so yeah, it's kind of continually developed throughout the years, from just one-to-one coaching to adding things like the training programs that we do, online programming, the workshops and so on. And
adding it now to build like a subscription website as well, so add another kind of layer to it, and then I'm looking at starting a nutrition course in September, just to kind of add a little bit from that. So we get loads of people that are on program who ask about nutrition for competitions and making weight and stuff like that, and although we can give advice, people always prefer that like certificate to say you're qualified to do it, even though we probably know most of it already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to kind of make that official from September.
Awesome. Okay, so the first main question is regarding training. Now, obviously, you guys both train as Olympic weightlifters, so I imagine that sort of frames a lot of what you do. But if what is your if you had to define your philosophy towards training, what would it be?
No, I'm thinking.
Maybe that's answered the question. For me, I'm a believer in hard work for anybody. I wouldn't say I've got a philosophy in weightlifting of, I like a lot of heavy lifting or a lot of light lifting. The simplest way to describe what I like is hard work.
Yeah.
I believe the hard option is always the right option. The more that you make your life hard on, the strength work in training, the more that when you do the heavy lifting in competition, it will pay off. So I basically believe in that. Hard work, make your life hard, so that on the platform, your life's easy. And I enjoy training, to be honest, so it's not so easy. I enjoy all sorts of training. It's not just weightlifting. Before that, I've done quite a bit of time kind of bodybuilding and so on. I'm interested in all strength sports, strongman, powerlifting, bodybuilding, the whole works. So yeah, it's being kind of fully involved in all aspects of it. I think it's really useful, and I love what I do. So yeah.
I think that just to add to that, like obviously you need the hard work, but variety. You get a lot of people who will just snatch and clean and jerk and not do any of the like accessory stuff that goes with it, or the assistance exercises, and that's the stuff that makes you good at snatch and clean and jerk rather than just doing those. And you get a lot of people who just lift heavy, like they lift all 1 rep max every single session without doing the reps and everything. And yeah, alright, you get 1 kilo on every like 6 months or whatever, where you've just practiced the heavy load, but you're not going to get it if you haven't got the variety in your other exercises. So.
Yeah. If anyone's actually watching the video on YouTube rather than the podcast, I can personally vouch for Jack's idea of hard work, because we're filming this straight after he's just trained me. My face is probably quite red right now, and I am still a little bit sweaty. I asked to film this before. They insisted on filming afterwards. They're the coaches, so I took the order. And yeah, I can certainly vouch for that being an effective way of training. So with regards to nutrition, you said that you're going to start the nutrition course, so maybe like your philosophy on nutrition will change as that goes on. But with you guys both being competitive athletes, is there a huge change in nutrition sort of in your off-season in the build-up to a competition?
It's an interesting one, because like for weightlifting, it doesn't matter how you look, as long as you step on those scales and you're under your weight category, then you've done the job basically. But you obviously want to do it right, because for us you have 2 hours after weigh-in to competition, whereas for like boxing and stuff they have like a day, 48 hours, so they can dehydrate themselves to a point that's really unhealthy. But for us, you have to be switched on and ready to go in 2 hours time, even less than that possibly if you include like warm-up time and stuff, and if you're one of the last to weigh in. So the last like 4 weeks up to competition, we're really good and we really watch what we eat, and we get weighed every day anyway. But making sure that we're getting the right fuel in and things like that. But then we do still enjoy life. We go for a McFlurry every now and then, or like chocolate. Do you know what I mean? Like we eat balanced in the true sense of the term, that we watch what we eat, but we still enjoy life, because I think it could become too much of a chore on what you eat, and then it's just going to affect your mental state, and that's going to affect your training if you're just feeling a bit rubbish about everything else. So.
Yeah, like we had a workshop up in Durham yesterday, another lunch break. Sat eating like, what is it? Caramel shortcake. I love them things, and people were really surprised when they see us eating stuff like that on a workshop. But we've done an hour of demos at the start, we've done an hour and a half of on your feet physical coaching, and we're about to do another hour and a half, 2 hours straight after the lunch break. So like you can afford to have a treat if you're busy, if you're moving around. If you've got a sedentary lifestyle in an office here, it's a bit different, but you can afford to enjoy it a bit. So we eat normal home cooked food. It's nothing special. Like Sarah said, it's really only the last 4 weeks where we might have to lose a few kilos, and we make sure we do it in a way that means it's not going to affect performance. So, and at the end, we do a bit of stuff with dehydration, and even like fiber manipulation, water manipulation, carb manipulation, even all of that stuff comes in the final weeks and so on. But other than that, we just live normally. We have normal food, eat treats now and then, and we
just say it's like mum's home cooked food type meals, but like just different quantities of stuff. So like for me to maintain body weight, I need around 3,000 calories, just because of the amount I'm training and moving and trying to build muscle and stuff. So just make sure it's the right quantities.
Yeah. Awesome. So with this sport, again, another thing I can vouch for, the mindset plays a huge important role in it, and I suppose competing at the high levels that you guys are doing, you've got to take that mindset to a whole new level. How do you guys do anything specific to get there, or is it just part of the course really?
Like, I've been involved in sports since I was 6 or 7 years old. I used to do gymnastics, so kind of that mindset of how sport, performance and stuff like that, and being up there on your own. So gymnastics, it's you on a beam and there's people watching you, and it's the same with weightlifting. Like, it's you on the platform with everyone staring at you, and I think I kind of expect it to be exactly the same, and it was similar, but like I went to the Commonwealth Games and I looked like a deer in the headlights. I was going to burst into tears the whole way through. Like, it was horrendous, and I could have seen the best sports psych in the world, and no one can prepare for 2,000 people just cheering at you, because it was in Glasgow, so it was essentially a home games, even though we compete as home nations. So, and just from doing that I learnt a lot, because then it was a year after that I went on to win the European Under-23s, and just from doing it, you learn it. I mean, I'm quite a sort of strong-minded person anyway, I think, and determined and stuff, and stubborn, Jack might say. But
a little bit.
Yeah, mindset definitely plays a massive part. If you're scared of the bar and you're scared of the weight that's on it, then it's never going to go well for you. And you've just got to kind of overcome it. Trying to explain weightlifting to people who don't know anything about it, they're like, so you throw twice your body weight above your head? And you're like, yeah. So for sure you've got to be a little bit nuts to do weightlifting, I think.
I got a couple of answers. I'll try and make it quick.
You can go as long as you like.
So
I'm not running out of memory on the camera.
On the note of like the competition. So for me, my all my best numbers, my personal best were all in competition. Like so when I competed in the London Olympics, it was 6,000 people I think it was in the XL. And I loved it. I walked out and this huge noise. I had a big grin on my face. Like, no, I need to lift first, grin later. But yeah, I set British record in the total. I think it was like a 6 kilo PB on my total. A couple of kilos on my clean and jerk. You know, I did all round PBs. I loved it. I like people watching me because he's trained so hard. Like I've trained for by that point, so it was 2012. I'd done however many years training. That like it's like a chance to show off all the hard work you've done. So yeah, I love it. But like because of our new website, we were asking for testimonials the other day, and one of the things that someone said was through doing the training program with us, the one thing that they really noticed improvement was their confidence.
Yeah.
And I think confidence comes from having a good training program. So when people lift heavy all the time, they get to a point where they're like, oh, I can't do this, and then they know they can't, or I think they can't do it, and then that stays in their head every time they try and attempt it. Whereas actually, when you do a structured program for 8 to 12 weeks, and the weights are going up steadily each week, and you're improving the technique and the assistance with it, actually we find that people's confidence, they break through these barriers because they actually know that they can do it because of the reps that they've done before.
Rather than just trying to lift heavy all the time and missing and missing and missing. That's going to affect your confidence because you're failing essentially. So like for us it's about building that up gradually.
Exactly. If I put a weight on the bar in training, if I was trying to do a 140 snatch, the chances are I've already done say 130 for 2 or 135 for 2. So really I know that I can do it because I've done the training leading up to it. So confidence isn't a thing because I know that I've always done the work that gets you that result. And if that's how you train, well, that's partly why it's such a good way to train, in a sensible way rather than just heavy all the time, because it does give you that confidence. Yeah,
I suppose coming back to your first point, that's a really good point about it's not actually what the situation is, it's how you look at it. Now, if you see 6,000 people as, oh my God, there's 6,000 people watching me, then that might affect your lifting one way. But if you see it as, oh my God, 6,000 people watching me, it's like, yes, that you're going to be going into that with two completely different different outlooks, and it's the exact same situation.
Yeah.
So how, not just the situation, but how you approach it. So the final question on the 4 main pillars, I call them, is about community. I'm going to ask you guys a specific one because you're both members of the British weightlifting team. What is that like as part of as a community? Do you guys, is there a bit of healthy competition? Are there any rivalries, or is it like a community that helps build you up?
It's one really weird family, amongst the athletes for sure. We've had trips before with Zoe and Emily in the car, and me and Jack are sat in the front like mum and dad with the kids in the back. It's especially weird amongst the girls because there was 3 of us at one point in the same weight category, which makes it difficult because normally internationally you can only take 2 per category per nation. Right. So that creates competition, but then we do all train together, like when we're in Loughborough, even when we go down to London, Emily and Zoe are both down there. And girls are just weird anyway. You know what I mean? Girls are they are bitchy, and it's a bit of a strange dynamic, and I don't know why that is, whether it's learnt or sort of something we're born with, who knows. But we got it down to a sort of fine art that we would train together, have a laugh in training, and then competition day it's we'll see each other at weigh-in, we'll give each other a hug, say good luck, and then that's it, and we don't do anything until we find each other in the bar later. So we kind of just leave it out on the platform, because there's nothing you can do at that point. You've all done your own training, and it is what it is. That's the thing with weightlifting. You can't change anything on the day. You've either done your training or they've done your training. It's not like, say on a rugby field, you've got you can change tactics and all that kind of stuff. Weightlifting is you're either strong enough or you're not. But we go on, we share rooms together, and we go on trips, we go on training camps together, and you have to get along, otherwise it's going to ruin your experience for yourself.
Do you find that if they go on to make PBs, it kind of pushes you that little bit further?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially if you see them in training, you'll cheer each other on. But if you see them sneaking that bit ahead of you, then you're gonna push harder. Which is why we enjoy training camps, because you train so hard, 10 days away. We had Barcelona last year, and you're making PBs every day because you're pushing yourself and you're on the same bar as someone else. So
yeah.
How about you, Jack?
the men are a lot friendlier. I'm going to be honest on that. When I first saw women's training camps, I couldn't understand it because there was, I don't know, 6 platforms, 6 girls, and every single one of them was on a separate platform, not talking to each other. Whereas like when this was made for the last Commonwealth, whereas the men, and then it was slightly different because a lot of them were all around the same categories, but the men, it was like, I walked in the gym, I started warming up, and said to Sonny, I'm doing some power cleans, what you got? He said, I've got cleans, but I'll change that for today, it doesn't matter anyway, it's just a few days of training, let's do power cleans together. And then I said, what about after that? And one of us had pulled, one had deadlifts, so well, we'll do deadlift, like we'll mix and match, you know what I mean? So the guys were generally, they'd kind of do the opposite. Instead of the girls where they try and stay away, and they, like the guys are the opposite, we're like, yeah, let's get on that platform together and get some good work done. And we do like handicap games. So I used to train with a guy for a Commonwealth game in 2010. He was 62 class, I was 77. So I gave him a 20 kilo handicap on everything, because that was the difference on each lift in our qualifying totals. So yeah, if he snatched, I don't know, 100 kilos, I had to snatch 120. And it made it like a fun competition environment.
Please never do that with you being 77 and me being 05.
So I think the girls have actually, it's changed a bit now. Like,
yeah, we've got better for sure.
And outside of training, to be fair, we all know each other. We've all known each other for years. Like, say you're saying about you're in the same category as Zoe. I've known Zoe since she was 12. Like, she started lifting just after me, so probably the end of 2005 for her. So it is a bit like a family when you've known someone that long. And like Sonny, he was probably 12 when I first met him, and he's 23 now, something like that. So, a lot of these people have known each other for over 10 years. So we are all friends, but when things get to competition time, like you say,
it's better. Like as we've all got older as well, you're a bit more grown up about it. You realise that it is competition. Whereas I think, like the girls that I was saying before London, like everyone was a lot more immature in themselves, and as you grow up, you learn that it is what it is.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so next question. You can have a bit of fun with this if you want to. Is what is the worst piece of advice you see too many people giving or too many people taking?
You can answer that. You definitely got an answer.
No, I don't. Not at all. There's probably so many that like I can't think of any because there's so many to choose from. Go on, you try and think of something first. You must have heard something good.
Glute activation.
We're not big on glute activation. I'll be honest about that one.
Interesting. I am, so I'd love to hear why you're not.
Just activation as a word, like I think is misused massively across the industry. So like when people are saying, your glutes aren't activated to do a squat, I mean, my butt's a metre in circumference. Like try and tell me that it's not doing something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it has to be working. It's a muscle. If it wasn't working, I wouldn't be able to do that movement.
Yeah.
Like if you took that muscle away, you just can't do it. So I think activation is something that's massively overused.
You can have an
misused.
Undertrained muscle.
Yeah.
You can have a weak muscle, but if someone says things like
it's not firing,
glutes are not firing, it's like the buzzword, and do clams for half an hour and then they'll work. At the end of the day, say if they weren't working in the first place, then you end up with this big imbalance. You got no glutes, you got big quads.
What, you mean like me?
So the thing is, the clams aren't going to make it any stronger. At the end of the day, if you want it to work, you got to make it stronger again.
Yeah.
So build that muscle up so that it can be used with some isolation work and so on. But it needs to have enough resistance in it to actually build the muscle.
Yeah, like doing a few clams with no weight and no resistance when you're squatting 150 or whatever isn't going to make any difference.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to actually work that muscle in the way it needs to be.
People seem to think, like I've had people, it was about you, I might have done a throwback to Sarah squatting like 50 kilos and someone was like, did you not learn glute activation first? No, you learn to squat that movement by doing squats, and at first it was a bit rough and then it got better and better as your body learns to use those muscles. So yeah, your body will learn to adapt to the movement, but you have to do a movement for it to get better at that. So I'm not in any way against like training things in isolation and adding to it, and assistance works. We're actually all for that.
Mm-hmm.
But doing something with so low resistance that is, I don't really think it's going to make much difference.
Yeah, I mean, I always use them as a precursor to something else. It's building up towards something else. It's never, we don't do an hour of glute activation.
Yeah.
Which is
what you see though.
Yeah.
Core training, we're pretty against that. That's a pretty common one. Core training in the term, when it means lying on your back doing single leg drop, dead bug style stuff, if you're a 60, 70-year-old who's never trained before and you've got back issues, then it might well work. In fact, my dad actually had done some of that stuff the doctor or physio gave him, and he said it did help his back. So I'm not disputing that. But if you're trying to clean and jerk 180 kilos and you've got to support that above your head, doing a little bit of core training and completely neglecting the big muscles on your front and your big muscle on your back is not going to get you anywhere. You know, like I see people, you know, got back problems and, you know, they're weightlifters trying to clean and jerk 180 kilos or more, but they can't do a single strict leg raise. I'm like, well, your abs are so weak, or, you know, they can't do back extensions. The muscles that at the end of the day are going to support that weight above your head don't work. So it doesn't matter how much you try and train these little muscles, where I don't even know what they call them, but there's core muscles underneath. It's not going to stop your back hurting when you're squatting 200 kilos for reps. Yeah, that's pretty common.
I'll let you know when I can squat 200 kilos for reps. Okay, so how about the best piece of advice that you don't think people are doing enough of?
More squats.
Just always more squats.
Strong's never wrong.
Strong is never wrong.
Okay.
What was it you said earlier?
Oh, that was swole is the goal, size is the prize. It's gains o'clock, it's someone else's. You really need to check that guy out. I'll send you some videos. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's a mock account. Well, no, it's a parody thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
I've forgotten the question.
Strong is never wrong.
Strong is never wrong.
Okay. So
Is this the best advice?
Yeah.
To be honest, in terms of weightlifting, the best advice, especially for beginners, is don't try to worry about snatch and clean and jerk. Do everything else. You know, do all the assistance. You know, the things that we did with you today, like the standing snatches, the Tim snatches, the snatch balance, like the wider variety of exercises that you do, the more that you learn to move and control your body. And exactly, so the more of that you do, the better you'll get. But don't get too focused on actually doing the lifting, because that will come in time.
For people that have found weightlifting through things like CrossFit, and they've never necessarily done sport before, and they're like in their 30s or whatever, they work an office job and they've got a posture like this, like trying to then do a snatch and clean and jerk isn't going to work. It's just going to be unsuccessful and lead to injuries. So get all the basics right. Don't try and run before you can walk, sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
did a blog or something on that recently.
yeah, I learned to lift by doing snatch and clean and jerk, but I was a gymnast for 14 years or something, so I could move my body in the ways that it needed to, and I was still only, 18 and hadn't like stiffened up or anything. So
we were still mega strict with the weights, like you were saying. You know, I'd make Sarah do a set of 3 snatches at say 30 kilos, and if she stepped forward, even a little shuffle, or even was leaning forward at the top and tried to put it down quickly without me realising that she was going to walk forward, I'd make her repeat the set. I wouldn't let her go up even 2 kilos until she could do it right for 3 reps each time. So it's being strict with yourself that's really important. Don't rush basically to lift big weights, because you'll make big jumps at the start and then it's done. So slow and steady, really.
awesome. Anything else either one of you would like to add?
Guess what?
Guess well.
Don't forget. Always finish a session with curl and press. That's actually my motto at the minute. I try and finish with that. No, it really is the most important. The best advice we can give is that just to take things easy, enjoy things, and like make a whole range of program to do. Don't just focus on it, and try and enjoy it. Don't let yourself get fed up with things, because the more fed up, if something's not going right, you get fed up with it, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
So try and sub things out, make training a real positive experience. So that's what we were early, about training with other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's good because you enjoy it. You should always enjoy your training. I wouldn't have done weightlifting this long if I didn't enjoy it. So, you have to make that fun environment. Like, you got a few guys training with you, and I think that's why you're all doing well, because you got a good fun environment, a company with all kind of like-minded people.
Yeah.
And if you can get together with like-minded people, then you're going to get some good progress with it.
Awesome. Where can people find you guys on social media? Where can we find out more about Wisdom for Weightlifting?
Wisdom for Weightlifting is just wisdomforweightlifting.co.uk.
With a number 4?
Yes, sorry, with a number 4. And then we're on Instagram, Twitter, for Wisdom for Weightlifting. So that Twitter is @wisdom4WL, and then Instagram is wisdom4weightlifting. And then for for both of us will be linked through those accounts anyway, but my Instagram is sarahd_gb.
Bit complicated.
And what's yours? Jack
Oliver GB.
Yeah.
So if you find mine, you'll find everything else because I'm constantly sharing everything else and tagging Sarah. So
And
Jack
you can
Oliver
usually
GB.
find each of you through mine because I love to big you guys up because you're both an inspiration, absolutely awesome. So yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for watching, guys. It was a real pleasure to have Sarah and Jack on the show. Complete different perspective to everything we've done so far by just having people that compete at this higher level. We'll be back next week as always with probably me on my own. I don't know because I haven't recorded the show yet. So thanks again and we'll see you next time.